I enjoy coming to work every day knowing that clients are depending on me to guide them through whatever financial needs they have.
Every client we have is different. And so it's really about finding out what's really the most important thing per client.
With financial planning, everything is interconnected. So a comprehensive plan means that you're taking care of income needs now, income needs in the intermediate term, and income needs long term. We'll do an asset cycle portfolio. We'll do a riskalyze test. We'll do a life insurance audit or a life insurance review.
And so when we build a deep relationship with our clients, then we can take a step back and then we can look at different options to help them specifically get to their goals. One of the things I feel our job is as advisors is to introduce strategies to clients that maybe they did not know that they were out there. But it's our idea, our job to come out and say, have you ever thought about this?
And the planning it's not always about income, but a lot of it is also about the legacy. So the element of family is very important to us, and it's important to our clients.
Hello, my name is Steve Jablonski, and I'm the host of Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush. Today we have a couple exciting topics. The first one is Informed Family Financial Services proprietary Wellspring formula. We're going to talk about the philosophies, the processes we use, and how we really help our clients reach their individual goals. And then to finish it up, we're going to talk about what's going on in the market. These have been unprecedented times. We've seen the largest decline in the shortest period of time in the market ever, and then the quickest comeback back to where it was before, and even higher than that in the shortest period of time ever. So with that said, Jeff?
Well, hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. It's good to be here as we record this in late September of 2020, and it surely has been an interesting year, a long year. And as you alluded to earlier, just so many downs and ups in the marketplace. It's interesting that we've now been doing this for 7 years. We're starting our 8th year here on PCTV. And boy, time flies. And of course, the markets are very different today than they were when we started doing this show back in 2013. The pandemic has been really dynamic and challenging for us as financial advisors, and it's up to us to advise our clients on what's the best way to navigate through these difficult markets. And I think it's good to get back to some of the basics today and talk about the Wellspring formula, which is a strategy, not a strategy, but a process that we've been using in our practice that really helps our clients with a plan of action and really helps them get through difficult times like this. Because when you have a plan, you do have some expectation. Not that there's going to be a pandemic of this magnitude necessarily, but that there's going to be ups and downs in the market, and with any good financial plan, you have to account for that.
Hey, Jeff, before we get into it, maybe tell everybody where we're located, maybe some of the things about in the news lately.
Yeah, so we're located
pretty well known now.
As we we started doing these recording these shows right here in our office, which is nice. So right now we're recording this in our Pottstown office, which is at 152 East High Street, which is the corner of High and Hanover in downtown Pottstown. And of course we have our other office, which is our main office in Norristown, right outside of the western side of Norristown in Trooper at 2570 Boulevard of the Generals. And yeah, as far as in the news, I mean, we've had, the good fortune of, I was quoted in the USA today on an article on the stock market, and I did a podcast interview with KYW out of Philadelphia on certain professions taking early retirement. And you were featured in Market Watch, just within the last couple of weeks. So yeah, we've had a lot of activity, a lot of press. So that's good.
So when we get into the Wellspring formula, Jeff, maybe if you could tell us a little bit about the history, how'd this come about, and then we'll get into a little bit deeper.
Well, how the Wellspring formula came about is, we looked at all of the processes that we do, all the things that we do for our clients, Steve, and we counted like 113 things that we do. And I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's some that we missed, but we do a lot. So we wanted to kind of pull it all together, and we kind of narrowed it down to our 7 pillars. And then from our 7 pillars, we really narrowed it down to like just one thing. What do we call this? And we call this the Wellspring.
And even before that, Jeff, with the process, because I found it was quite interesting about how many years you were in business, and we didn't get feedback from our clients. And what was the feedback, that the questions that came about, and what they thought of us, and what type of job? And
well, yeah, I mean, what we did was, to do all this, what we decided to do was we actually interviewed our clients. You and I embarked on, I don't know how many interviews we did, but upwards of maybe 50 interviews. And we asked them kind of, what was the one thing that we did that helped them along, and what do you say about us when you talk to your friends and your family. And we were it was really and when we first started this, I was like a little apprehensive, because I was like, what are they going to say, But by and large, we got pretty good feedback from the people that we've worked with over the years, and it really helped us formulate this whole Wellspring formula.
And so you mentioned before that there's over 100 things that we do for clients. What was the thought process of getting it down to what we see here, the pillars of the company?
Well, I think the important thing about boiling it down was just so that we could kind of demonstrate it and illustrate it, on one nice brochure, that we could really define who we are and what we do, and what makes us, and kind of what makes us stand out. Because when you look at the world of financial planning and the world of financial advisors, there's many of us, and what makes us different. So we feel that we are different, but what makes us different is the process that we use, and the way that we apply these processes with our clients. So we created this brochure that we felt really defines us, and helps us to, kind of put our stamp, if you will. This is who we are and what we do.
Now, do you want to take us through them a little bit? And if we start with the wealth management, and I know we don't have time to go real deep, but kind of give our viewers an idea of what the 7 are.
Yeah, well, so it starts with, the 7 pillars it starts with wealth management. So if we look at wealth management, it's really the kind of the cornerstone of what we do, and it's really kind of what our clients look to us to do, and it's not necessarily what makes us stand out, because almost any financial planning firm will say that they'll do that, that they do wealth management. But we take it a lot deeper and we look at other factors. For example, the second pillar is risk management. And the risk management is so important because managing risk comes under a couple of different categories. One is just managing the risk inside the portfolios that we manage. And we have a proprietary product that we use to do that. It's called Riskalyze. And that process really kind of defines how we manage the internal risk inside of a portfolio. And when we look at the volatility that's in the market today, as we operate in 2020, that's important because the risk, if you don't have your risk pinpointed properly, then clients are going to be in for a surprise and possibly a shock when they see what's happening inside their portfolio. The other aspect of risk management is the insurance aspect of it. The life insurance, the long-term care aspect of risk management. And that's important too because it's one thing to manage the money, but you also want to manage the longevity. And we found people are living longer today than they were just a generation ago, and we've got to prepare that. We've got to prepare for that. We've got to make sure that all the bases are covered with risk management. And then we get to the third pillar, which is tax planning. And tax planning is really important because the landscape of taxes changes constantly. I mean, if we look at just all the things that have happened this year, late in 2019, they changed the age where you have to take a required minimum distribution, and we spent years and years of planning where we were telling everybody, at 70 and a half, you have to take a required minimum distribution. Well, they changed that. Now it's 72, and that so that affects some things that people have done with their planning, and it really makes financial planning dynamic. So you don't just do it one time and then forget about it. It's something that has to be updated periodically, a couple times a year maybe. And then if we look at this year, with the way we're dealing with the pandemic, the required minimum distribution was postponed for the year. People didn't have to file their taxes instead of the April 15th deadline. That got moved to July 15th, and all kinds of things. So tax planning is really, really important. And especially when you retire today, you're retiring with typically a lot of money in a retirement plan, an IRA or a 401k, and those assets have tax consequences when you take distributions. So, and then there's the Roth IRA, and we could go on and on. We could spend a whole show just on that, just on the tax planning. The other pillar that we have addressed is legacy planning. So legacy planning is so important because that's really the leave-on money of your portfolio. How are you going to leave your legacy to your children or to your charities? And that's really important to the vast majority of people that we work with. So once we've got the income defined within a plan, then we look at defining how the legacy is going to be defined. And then speaking of income planning, which is our next legacy, or our next pillar, I should say, income planning is probably the cornerstone of what we do. That's usually the first thing that we address. We have income models that we use, and we do all kinds of projections to see what income's going to look like over the course of the next 20 to 30 years. And that's usually the calming force inside of all of our planning, because that's what makes people feel more secure about what they're doing, knowing that, they've got income secured for life. And we use a lot of products that have guarantees built into them, and so they can't run out of money, and that's important too. It feels like I'm going through this fast because we spent a lifetime doing all these pillars, and we're trying to boil it down into this show here today. The other pillar is philanthropy, and that is the pillar where we talk about the planned giving. We could have charitable trusts entering the picture. And again, it's part of defining, what your legacy is, and how your charities are being benefited from, from your wealth. And then finally, the last pillar is value-added services, and these are things that we do for our clients just as a regular part of what we do. And one of the most important things that we do is, for our most important clients, is we act as a sounding board. And that could mean a lot of different things, but one of the most important things that we're seeing now in this pandemic is we're finding that a lot of financial advisors they're just not talking to their clients. So we act as a sounding board, and we'll talk to people that maybe they're friends, or it could be family of our best clients. And then what we do there is we'll do a complimentary review and try to help these people through the process of trying to get through what this pandemic means from a financial planning standpoint.
Yeah. Well, good. Thanks, Jeff. I know there's a lot to
That's
put
a lot.
It's a lot to put
That's a
into.
lot to do.
Well, and so in this process, we have our philosophy. One of the most important things is the clients that are sitting in front of us, and we really want to determine the why. And we'll get into this slide with our philosophy in a little bit, and really what's most important to our clients. So we really want to find out, and we really look at this, and we spend a lot of time really asking a lot of questions and finding out what's most important. So with that, Jeff.
Yeah, well, that's kind of one of the first things that we do, and I think that's what differentiates us from most advisors, and that is the first meeting we want to get to know you. What's important to you? What are the things why are you here? If we look at this plan 3 years from today, what has to happen for you to feel successful, for you to feel good about your progress? And then that really spurs a discussion, and for the most part, we're listening. We're listening to the prospect that's sitting across the table, and they're saying, what's important to me is I want to take care of my family. I want to have enough income during retirement. I want to get rid of my debt. I want to leave money for my children or my grandchildren. I want to, take care of college education for my grandchildren. I want to take care of my charities. I mean, the list goes on, and it really is a unique process, and it really gives us a chance to get to know our clients on a really deep level, because we know what's making them tick and really what's important to you. And our philosophy is, if it's important to you, then it's important to us.
Yeah. And so when we look back at the philosophy of what we do in the process, we can see where we live. And Jeff, I'll let you start off. What matters and the why.
Yeah, so this is a Venn diagram that we have designed and put inside of our brochure. And by the way, I should mention, while we're doing this, if you're interested in learning more about this this whole process, you can contact our office. We have contact information that we'll put up on the screen. You can either email us or you can call our office. But because this is really kind of a lot to absorb here, and a lot of people are looking for help. But this particular Venn diagram we think is pretty cool because there's really two things. There's what matters and there's what you can control. And what we have found in 2020 through this pandemic, there's a lot of things that you can't control, right? You can't control the stock market. You can't control how the government is reacting to this pandemic and this disease and all this other stuff. And you certainly can't
control the pandemic either.
Can't control the pandemic. You can't control all the politics, all that. You just can't control that. So we look at what you can control because there are certain things that you can control, right, in your life. There are things that you have control over. You can control the planning. You can control, how you spend your money, how you live your life, and those things. So what this diagram does is it looks at, okay, what matters in your life, and what can you control. So where those two circles intersect, that's where we live. That's where the Wellspring formula is. And that's where those are all the discussions that we have with our clients. That's what we center on, is the Wellspring formula. And that is really the why and the how. Okay, so the why, when we have all these conversations, what we found is the why is the family, the occupation, and the recreation. That's what comes out as what's important. And then the how is the money, and the money comes last. So that is FORM, or form, which is the form is in Wellspring formula. That's the form in formula. So the why and the how, and then if we look at what we kind of who we are as a firm, our philosophy, our planning strategy, and all these processes. That's what really makes up the Wellspring formula.
Well, good, Jeff. That was a very good summary. So let's get to the second part, and the environment we're in, the market we're in. If you go back the last 20 years, from about 2000 to 2010, some say that was the lost decade in the stock market. And then the last 10, we were consistently hitting all-time highs in the market. So with that said, Jeff, you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on, and maybe, because we don't know what the next 10 years ago, is there anything out there that can provide safety for the clients?
Well, what we know is that the future is very hard to predict, and you and I entered the business around the same time in the mid-90s. I've been around for 26 years. So have you. So really, this is the third major financial crisis that we've had to work through with our clients. We had the crisis of 2000 and 2001, which was highlighted by the technology bubble of the late 90s, and then all the sad events of 9/11. And that particular crisis lasted for the better part of 2 years, almost 3 years, and that was a real shock. And I remember vividly talking to people back in 2001 after the 9/11 attacks, and just how are we going to get through this? And eventually, the time element, you do work your way through it. And then we did get through that, and then we had 2008, where we had the financial crisis, the mortgage collapse, and just high rates of unemployment, people out of work, and just people defaulting on their loans, and that was kind of scary, to see financial markets collapse, Lehman Brothers. And now we get to this, and this is completely different because the market was in kind of a free fall, and then it has come back up, and now it's kind of going back down again. And depending on when you watch the show, the market might be up or down. But I think the important thing to keep in mind is two things. The time is the great healer of all wounds, and it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. So investors are rewarded for having time in the market. The other thing is that there's a lot of product out there that has a lot of safety built into it. So there's guarantees. The income might be guaranteed. The death benefit might be guaranteed. There's investment products that have safeties built into them where they migrate out of the market when it hits certain points. So there's a lot of things that you can do, that an investor can do, that to protect themselves. And we use a strategy called asset cycle portfolio, which is really a technique to use a timeline, to have assets to be utilized at certain points in time during your lifetime in retirement. And those plans, those strategies really help people work through these types of crises, that whether it's this pandemic or whether it's something else. And who knows what the next 10 years are going to bring? It's really hard to say. We don't know if we're in for a bumpy ride, or is the market going to hit new all-time highs? It's really hard to say, and it almost doesn't matter, right? It almost doesn't matter with your clients that you're talking to them about retirement. The more important factor is that you have a plan, and that you're able to execute that plan regardless of what happens in the marketplace. I think that's the more important thing, because it's really hard to say what will happen in the future in the market. A lot of uncertainty.
And how does that help the client that we're an independent firm?
Well, I think the fact that we're an independent planning firm, we're a fiduciary. When you're a fiduciary, you have, and you and I both have licenses, and our background, we act as investment advisor representatives. We're acting in a fiduciary capacity. You have a CFP, which you're even held to a higher standard. But the high standard that we use with our clients is, we're independent, so we have access to, dozens and dozens of different products, and we do what's in the best interest of our clients, and that goes back to the planning. That goes back to those first couple meetings where we find out what's important. Once we know what's important, then we can design a plan based on, products and things that are available, and then we continue to act in that fiduciary capacity.
And Jeff, in kind of closing it out, what are ways that our audience can come on our website, maybe get more information, white pages, look up our old shows?
Yeah, so our website is informedfamily.com. Our TV show is actually on informedfamily.com. And actually our TV show, I should mention too, is also on the PCTV website, which is the PCTVnetwork.com. So you can look at the old shows on there. If you want to contact us, our information is we can put that up on the screen, our phone number, and you can email us. We have a number of white papers that are available too, where we talk about there's one that we just did on indexed annuities, which are very popular, and those are good planning tools to circumvent some of the risk in the market. So yeah, I mean there's a lot of information out there, and that's why we do these shows. So with all that being said, Steve, this was a good show today where we got to talk about our process, the Wellspring formula, and it's good to be back on PCTV after being off for a couple months because of this crazy time here in 2020. But with that being said, this is Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush.